Alright, I am covering part 2 of this Firelord story today, and that is how I will begin this video, by establishing what comic I will be talking about. This is issue 59 of Firelord series, and the story is more or less Firelord is fighting the Superman bad guy, Parasite, who is green for some unexplained reason. The last issue ended with Parasite draining Firelord's power for himself, and as the cover shows, it's up to Firelord's supporting character, Frankie Ray, to combat this nuclear-powered bad guy. Also, it all ties in with the DC crossover Legends lightly. There is basically no reason for it to, and the Legends links don't even matter much, or mean much to the story. The two halves that make up one complete Firelord are Robbie Amell and Jack Bristow. We have a teenager and a 50-year-old professor fused together to be the superhero Firelords. Well, they have been split in two again by parasites absorbing the Firelord energy. And the two of them, they are now his prisoners. And it's actually these bits with Robbie and Jack that are my favourite scenes in this story. During their defeat, Parasite revealed that Jack has a tumour, and Robbie didn't know about that. This is news to him, and his supposed friend hadn't told him about it. I like these bits between the two of them here. And we also have Parasite ganning around with Firelord's powers. And Firelord is an overpowered character. And here we see what a bad guy can do with his powers. And it is fucking carnage. In 2 pages of story here, Parasite accomplishes more with Firelord's powers than Firelord has in 59 issues of his own series. I don't want to give DC any ideas, but if they ever want to have Firelords go evil, I think the DC heroes would well and truly struggle to oppose them. Although knowing DC, they would probably do a fucking dark Batman who has Firelord powers. I am going to talk a bit about Robbie Amell and Jack Bristow. Between the two, Robbie Amell is the nominal main character of Firelord series. He is, or at the time of his creation, he was a high school student. He was a basketball playing jock with a girlfriend whose last name rhymes with A, and he is bullied by the nerd for being less smart. And the bully is always trying to steal his woman. In a stupid ploy to impress his girl, Ginger J, Robbie is an activist and has learnt of and decides to go and sabotage a terrorist attack on a nuclear power plant. Meanwhile, we have Jack Bristow, Nobel Prize winner scientist doctor, who is working at said nuclear power plant. One thing I did like was there was a Secret Origins issue that told Firelord's origin entirely from the point of view of Jack Bristow instead of Robbie Amell. Our focus was on Jack Bristow. They are both caught in a science explosion and are bonded together and become Firelord, the Nuclear Man. Firelord is an energy-powered, energy-using, energy-manipulating, energy energizer. If you want a good example of the capabilities of Firelord's insane powers, you actually see it earlier in this issue when Parasite was using them. Now it is time for our superhero action fight. Sharing similar powers to Firelord is Frankie Ray, who is also one of the love interests for our main character. It is nice to see her take the lead in a especially after part 1 had a job a fair bit to let Parasite get his first dosage of absorbed powers. And now she gets to come back and get some payback for that. It's time to explain who Frankie Ray is. I said she was a love interest, but she isn't the main love interest for Firelord. She suffers from what I call Black Cat Syndrome. She is the hero's secondary love interest, who for a lot of people appeals more than the primary love interest. Frankie Ray was first seen in Firelord #1, but not Firelord #1, that was the first Firelord comic ever. Firelord #1, which was the second Firelord series, after the first Firelord series had been cancelled after 5 issues. She is the daughter of a prominent senator, and as such, this means that for the first 2 or 3 years of that series, she is constantly getting kidnapped. Without fail, every single story that features her as someone kidnap her to extort her dad. Firelord saves her, and they have a very orny relationship where they neck on in front of everybody. I think the idea might have intended to be that Robbie Amell as Ginger J and Firelord as Frankie Ray. But that was a stupid idea and it didn't work out at all. About the 9th time she gets kidnapped, they perform experiments on her trying to recreate the incident that created Firelord originally. This is when she gets her powers and becomes Nova. Fuck me, this is getting confusing now. She has no relation to the Marvel character that Firelord ripped off. I think it was issue 16 or 17 where she got her powers, and she initially was sent out to fight Firelord, but they quickly joined forces and probably had some public sex. And then the Nova-powered Frankie Ray became a recurring supporting character in the series, and her contribution and relevance to the title only grew to the degree where she even headlined an issue or two, and she basically overshadowed Ginger J enormously. Even between the two writers of the series, her prominence didn't diminish. She is in plenty of John Ostrander's run, even when Firelord digivolves into his Mega Digimon form. She is still part of the book's cast of secondary characters. She's still there in subsequent Firelord titles, even though the Firelords themselves are often completely reinvented and changed. Outside of Firelord, the main thing I can think of with her is in the 5-2, when she tries to reorganize the disbanded Justice League, and she isn't depicted that flattering, with the whole thing being a bid to improve her campaign running for senator. Her Justice League squad flops and fails, and I don't think she gets elected because of that. When I went to get all the cutaways for this, I realised she doesn't have a Wikipedia article. She seems like a prominent enough character to warrant a Wikipedia article. So I am putting the call out to you in the Son of Nimrod Cum Cult, to the Spunk Brigade, that is what it's called, to go and create an article on Wikipedia for this character. Frankie Ray, having freed the two offs of Firelord, she taps out to let Firelord in to fight Parasite, who has reabsorbed her powers. And I really like this sequence. We have a standoff between Firelord and Parasite, and it basically boils down to Firelord pointing out that Parasite has seen what Firelord can do. Parasite has seen the extent of Firelord's powers, so Parasite knows what Firelord is capable of doing to him. He maybe, but not maybe, bluffs that he is going to do a big nuclear explosion to wipe Parasite out, which causes Parasite to back down and try to run off, and then be trapped inside a block of ice by Firelord. He could have done that to begin with and not bothered with the nuclear threat. With Parasite defeated, he will be sent off to Supervillain Prison and make a cameo appearance in Suicide Squad issue 1. Then he will resurface in a few issues' time again in Firelord. I really think this two-parter holds up and ranks as one of the best stories to sample Firelord. We have some fun fights with a moderately familiar bad guy. We have some great character stuff with Jack Bristol's Tumour. We get a decent showing of Frankie Ray and some of Firelord's supporting players. I recommend these two issues to people wanting a nice simple comic book story with a hero that they maybe haven't read before or didn't much care for. Issues 58 and 59. They are solid 7 thumbs up comics.